Hello and welcome to this week's virtual meetup from Protocol. I am Mike Murphy, the transformation editor here at Protocol, covering just about anything and any industry you can think of that's undergoing digital transformation these days, which happens to be a lot of them. And today we're going to be talking about how during this unprecedented time that we're all experiencing right now, the markets are staying up and running, given that so many of us are working from home, so many of us can't go outside, and things that seemed normal just a month ago are completely unusual now. And joining me today is Ericka Leslie, head of global operations at Goldman Sachs, and Lars Ottersgard at Nasdaq, the head of market technology there. I'm going to let both of them introduce themselves in a little more detail. Ericka, I'll start with you.
Hi, nice to be on today. Thank you for having me. As Mike said, I run global operations at Goldman Sachs. I also run platform engineering for our global markets business. I've been at Goldman Sachs for 24 years. I've been in the industry for closer to 30 years. And you're right, this is all very unprecedented. I experienced the financial crisis of 2008, 9/11, and various other events that really rocked the financial services industry and the broader community, but nothing like this. And so I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about how we are adjusting our working style to deal with the new normal.
And hello everybody, my name is Lars Ottersgard and I'm running the commercial arm of Nasdaq's market technology business. So that is where we provide technologies to marketplaces, clearinghouses and depositories all over the world, and also some banks and brokers businesses. I've been in Nasdaq since 2006 and we've been in the business now for almost 30 years of providing this infrastructure to the markets, and I totally agree. These times are unprecedented. We have not seen anything like it before. So it's an interesting time, and the least to say. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you both. And thank you to everyone who's joined so far. It's great to see so many people here. And hello to everyone who's watching on Facebook Live as well. If you're on the Zoom chat and you would like to ask a question, put it in the Q&A box and we'll get to that if there's time. We have a bunch of stuff to run through in this session, but hopefully we'll have time for your questions as well. So make sure to say whatever you've got. I want to start at pretty much the most holistic question I could possibly think of for this, which is how are markets working right now? How are things staying up with so many people that just can't be at the office? And Lars, I'll start with you.
So I think, I must say, we should be proud as an industry, how we have handled the situation. We in Nasdaq have approximately 30 markets that we operate in ourselves, and I'm also providing technology and solutions to another 110 markets in the world. And I must say, the experiences across the globe is that we are holding it up quite well. The volumes are totally unprecedented. I mean, we've seen tripled volumes from previous all-time highs. So it's significant changes. And the markets have handled this very well. And I don't think we have seen any major downtowns in any market actually globally. There has been glitches and some challenges, but the technology, but even more importantly, the processes, routines, that the marketplaces has worked really well.
And is that in part due to planning that you would have all had beforehand, or how much of this was emergency planning in the last month or two, and how much of this was protocols, no pun intended, that you've had in place for a while?
This is nothing you fix in a week or two. So this is programs that's been running for years. So if you look at, first of all, the technology that we provide and that our markets use and our clients use are built to be able to be operated remote. So that's number one. So people can work totally remotely. They don't need to be on site and operate the market. So the technology, the tools are there. But then you need to run this as a program. You can't do a quick fix and then hope it works. So it's a continuous planning, setting up processes. If I look at our own markets, we are running tests about 40 weekends a year, where we're testing resiliency, where we're testing our capability to disaster recovery, but we're also testing remote operations and different situations that can happen. So on top of that, all marketplaces today operate with a fair margin to be able to handle much bigger volumes that they're normally seen. So it's normally twice the ever highest peak they've seen before. So that means that to always be at that point, which is in many countries a regulation, you need to continuously monitor and do performance and capacity planning and stay ahead of the game. So I think this would not have worked if not all the marketplaces over the world had been doing this as a program over time.
I see. And Ericka, how about on your side?
Yeah, very similar to what Lars described. We have BCP planning, we have capacity planning programs. Several times a year, we have a large percentage of our people work from home. We also have what's called follow the sun, which means that we can pass work from one location to another location, which worked very, very well. We actually had a very large percentage of people in Asia who were working from home earlier in the year. And we were able to learn a lot from what they experienced in terms of their BCP planning. And as I said, we were able to also absorb a lot of the work or the capacity lost as a result of some people working from home in Asia. Now, of course, about a month later, we started to see sort of rolling lockdowns across the globe. And I'd say that's the part that's really been unprecedented. We've tested a big percentage of people working from home. We've tested taking out an entire office and having the work sort of spill over into the other locations. We've never tested 100% of the people working from home. And so that's the part that's really, that's new. And, look, I think that the industry has done an incredible job of being, very adaptable. Many of us, we're working from our homes. We have children that we're trying to homeschool. And, the markets are extremely volatile right now, and there's a lot of volume being pumped through the system. And so, as Lars said, that isn't luck. That doesn't just happen for a week's planning. It's because we have this regular cadence of testing things, and we also have a much better home working environment in terms of the tools that we use and the software that we're able to use. And as an example, I'm talking to you today from Zoom. We've adopted, Zoom. We've adopted Jabber as a way of having internal phone lines really routed to cell phones. We've created virtual call centers and hotlines. And so I think technology is really helping us to be able to adapt to this almost 100% working from home situation.
It's something I've wondered, just personally thinking about where we are with technology right now. And if we'd been in a situation like this, even 5 years ago, I feel like we might have struggled. There are a lot of tools like Zoom or Jabber's been around for a long time. But we at Protocol use this service called Dialpad that basically replicates your office phone wherever you are, like call forwarding for the 21st century. And it's almost indispensable now. And I didn't even use it 6 months ago. And so I wonder, are there any other tools or any other, new ways of thinking or working that you both have been using beyond Zoom? I feel like everybody loves Zoom now. It's so strange that it's this massive consumer product now. Lars, is there anything your team is using that's new?
We also use Teams, of course, and some other. But I think the narrow path, I would say, is the VPN capacity. If there's anything that has been a challenge, it was not planned to, as you said, Ericka, everybody to be home at the same time was probably not the plan. So we have seen across the globe that some companies have struggled a little bit with the VPN capacity to run this in a secure manner. But I will say that also has been really well handled and been upgraded very fast. So I think it's working really well with the tools that you mentioned. We use Zoom also a lot actually in our business. So it's nicer than just having phone calls also
Yeah.
see a face.
The only other thing I added to my kit is I got a bigger screen because I have a massive screen in my office where and I have a TV with CNBC on it, and I have a Polycom, and so I had to create a Polycom, and I got a little Bluetooth Jabra speaker, and I connected to my phone, and so now I have a massive 40-inch TV with CNBC on it and a bigger computer screen and my speakerphone, and it's all working well.
Geez, you really took the home office to the extreme. I wonder though, have there been any beyond the VPN issues? Have there been any hiccups that maybe you weren't expecting? I've got to imagine any kind of software-based system at the end of the day, whether it's in the cloud or something you manage yourselves. There are still capacity issues that you can run up against. There are all kinds of issues that that you can face. And is there anything that's just been more of a challenge than you expected, or have things been going relatively smoothly so far?
Do you want me to take that, Lars?
Sure.
Yeah, please, go ahead. Yeah.
So I'd say, for the most part, our environment and the broader, financial market has stood up to people working from home, B, lost capacity as a result of people working from home, and then C, the sort of unprecedented volumes that we've seen in the market. And so I think the thing that maybe surprised us a little bit was the fact that as we started seeing the rolling lockdowns, and we'll call it from sort of the beginning of March through the end of March, I would have thought that a little bit of the volume would have come out of the system, i.e., we would have seen sort of less activity as people came offline, and that didn't happen. In fact, if you look at, and Lars, I'd be happy for you to talk about this as well. If you look at the volume from the first week of March to the third week of March, right through, quadruple witching hour and right through the IMM roll and all of these market events that happen, the volumes were really unprecedented during that time, even though we were like pulling out, sort of like 50%, 75%, in some cases, 100% of the people from offices. And so I think that's the part that was surprising to me. I would have expected to see less volume in the system. I would have expected to see less activity. And that didn't happen. I think that's a testament to the resilience of markets. I think it's a statement about how electronic the markets have become. And I think the fact that we, didn't really have any operational issues is really testament to the fact that, we've got a pretty good handle on the automation associated with dealing with that kind of volume and capacity. Lars, I don't know if you...
Yeah, no, I think most markets are fully electronic to start with. Of course, some markets still have floors and floor trading, and that probably caused a little bit more challenges to close floors, which has happened in many countries. But I would say if there's any area which has been more challenging than others, it's not the front-end execution service. That has worked, I must say, really well. But in some of the downstream systems in the post-trade area, there has been more challenges. For instance, crawling through the surveillance of all transaction, etc. There has been some T+ time that is longer than normal. That has been catched up, and now I see the market is performing really well also in most of the post-trade areas. But that's where it has been probably a little bit more challenging than in the trading area itself.
And that makes me wonder as well, going off something you said there, Ericka, and a question I see in the Q&A box of the role that automation plays in systems like this, especially at a time when people can't as easily get together and fix things themselves. Are you seeing, Ericka, a greater push towards automation with projects internally? Is that the way to go for kind of bridging the gaps right now?
Yeah, so there's been a push for automation, I think, broadly across the industry for a long time now. I'll talk about Goldman Sachs specifically. We have a 5-year automation program that we launched a year and a half ago. And so a lot of the, I'll call it post-trade inefficiency, as Lars said, the execution layers, very electronic and very straight through, industry-wide in various markets. We have less what we call straight through processing in the post-trade space. So our program specifically is meant to tackle that over, call it a 4 to 5 year period. Broadly within the industry, there are other initiatives, and there's a lot of sort of software and vendor packages out there specifically focused on post-trade efficiency and automation. So I don't think, this, we didn't need this pandemic to remind us that, we need to be more automated sort of in the post-trade or back end. But at the same time, I think it underscores the fact that these initiatives and these programs are really important, mostly because it's really difficult to be able to scale an entire front to back business if part of it, has less straight through processing than another part of it, because you're only as good as sort of the weakest link. So I would say that it hasn't really changed our strategy, but it's in some ways underscored its importance.
Lars, how about Nasdaq?
Yeah, I totally agree, and now I'm a bit biased as I'm selling technology. But definitely we see an increased interest. I agree. It's already on the agenda for most companies to be more digitized and automated. But this is making a point how important it is. Another thing is, of course, also to spread your competence. So you don't have one little office with all the competence in one place physically, which is, we've seen good examples in the beginning of this crisis, how companies, if they weren't already split, they actually took the action to split people. So I have one example of an exchange in Asia that put all the resources they have in 3 buckets, one working in one office, one in another office, and one at home, to make sure that you have at least 3 different competence centers with the same overlapping skills. So that's something that maybe need to be thought of also in the future for a standard solution and not something you implement in a crisis time.
That's really interesting. I mean, I guess you've got that kind of double-edged sword of, if you're trying to ramp something up like that, is you need to do it, but also document it to make sure this process is moving forward. So you're kind of educating as you're doing. I mean, this is a new world for everyone pretty much, apart from those who work from home all the time anyway and are very, gloating right now that they're used to this. But have either of you come across situations like that so far, where you feel like you're having to educate your team or your clients at the same time as trying to service them, just because of this new reality? Ericka, if you
I can start. I don't think I wouldn't use the word educate. I would say assist is the role we have been doing. So they are a very skilled people. They know what they're doing. But of course, as they're using our technology, our role has been to assist to make sure that they get the necessary help in order for them to tune the systems, to integrate more hardware, whatever you need to keep the performance up. So it's not educate, it's more assisting role as I see it.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that, right before, I call it the middle, maybe the beginning of March, we started getting a lot of phone calls from clients asking us about our plans, i.e., what were we going to do about, working from home, and, did we have the capacity to continue to do business with them? And so we had to do a lot of education with our clients and with other stakeholders. We had a lot of conversations with regulators about our preparedness and our operational resilience and the kinds of programs that we have in place, and really the broader plan. And I think that was a very good exercise. We also had one of the industry associations go out and really canvass the broader market to basically just ask them to fill out a survey in terms of what their plans were. And so we spent a week or 2 weeks in the middle of March really assembling the landscape in terms of what the industry was doing. And broadly, we were all doing similar things. And as Lars said, we have a lot of programs that really test that, that we have capacity, that we can move work around, that we don't have concentration risk. And so, it wasn't educating people in terms of telling them things they didn't know, but it certainly was educating them about what our individual plans were and what they could expect.
Mm-hmm. And have either of you found working with external partners, in the same way we're all using Zoom or things like that, there are compliance issues or other things when when dealing with external people. Have there been any changes to the way you work there versus how things were back just a couple months ago?
Yeah, it's a dramatic change. I mean, we were used to work very close face to face in many meetings with our clients, which is obviously not possible today. So we have been starting to use both Zoom and telephone meetings, etc., in a much wider sense. Banned all flying, so we are not flying anywhere in any way. So everybody works remote, and that is not how we operated before, both internally as well as with our clients and partners. So it's definitely a major change, and I definitely think it will also be part of this will be something that learn us to work remote from each other, and that will help us to save parts of that also in the future. So I think it will have a lasting impact on how we operate internally as well as externally.
Have there been any of your clients that have voiced that it's been more of a struggle to shift to this style of working than others, or is it going kind of as smoothly for them as it is for both of you?
It's clearly different in different cultures. How important the physical meeting is. So yes, there are some bigger or smaller challenges in different, based on your history, based on how you used to work.
I see.
But I would say it works well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it works very well. I would have anticipated that, and this isn't a company comment or a country comment, but I would have anticipated that people who are working from home, where there are two spouses who both are working from home and there's children who are homeschooling, that would be kind of the most difficult situation. And what I found in talking to people in my organization is it's actually harder on the people that live alone. And in particular, the people that live alone and have been transplanted to another part of the world to start a job. And they don't have the same support system, or people who have been separated from, their families, and they're in international travel bans, and they can't get home. And so it's been really hard just personally, for different people. And I think that, the idea of not being able to physically be near other people as you're trying to, build relationships and build a business, that's really challenging. I mean, Zoom is great and it's fun, but it's not the same. It's not the same as the human interaction.
No.
It's quite interesting also. We have actually experienced some in our organization that is asking, this works really well. Maybe I would like to do this also in the future. So this could be something we need to evaluate. We need all the offices.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of capital expenditures that are just sitting there collecting dust right now. There's a really interesting question in the Q&A that I wanted to get to, Lars. I think this is more for you. If a company wanted to go public in this environment, do you think that the tech stack would be up to the challenge? And what would that even be like right now with this completely remote world we're in? I don't know why, if you would want to, but if somebody was ready to, what would that be like?
Yeah, I dare to say that technically it would work fine. I dare to say that, but it would be a less fun show when you don't have the bell ringing and everything going on. And I mean, making an IPO is also about marketing, it's about visibility, and but I definitely think technically it would work fine.
I mean, you could get a Zoom background, right? And I could have a bell here. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, next step will be virtual reality, where you really feel you are in the same place, everybody. So we're getting there.
Exactly. So I wanted to gauge your thoughts on whether parts of this new reality will stay once things can go back to normal. As you said, Lars, that there are people that are wondering if we need all of these offices. Maybe they like, working from home. But Ericka, are there parts of the way that Goldman has shifted work in the last couple months that you think will become the new normal?
We have a lot of people who work from home anyway, and we have, quite a lot of flexibility. We have policies around flexibility. And so I don't think, let's take the extreme. I don't think we're gonna, in the near term, be in a situation where we would eliminate office space and have everybody working from home. In fact, our CEO has come out and said that won't happen in the near term. Are we going to be more flexible in terms of allowing a lot of people working from home? Yeah, I think we've proven now that we don't really lose a lot of capacity as a result of people staying home. And there are parts of our business, in particular in places like India, where people are commuting, 3 hours a day. And, I imagine they'll want to avail themselves of a work from home situation more frequently to save commuting time. I found that that's the sort of the silver lining in all of this. People feel like they're much more productive because they're not spending as much time commuting to and from work. And so, I'm very supportive of that. I think that we've been able to prove that with Zoom and with all these other technologies that we can stay connected to one another. And we've also used things like Symphony and created, Symphony rooms, and we've tried to sort of recreate, the huddle with a Symphony room. So if you have Zoom and the ability to screen share, and you've got Symphony and you can chat, you're getting close to being able to recreate an environment where people are co-located and shouting over each other and huddling around a computer to try to figure something out. So I think it's a long answer, but I do think that we're definitely going to be more open to more people working from home. And like I said, we're already pretty flexible with it, but my guess is that we'll utilize it more frequently.
Mm. And Lars, how about you?
No, I think we will have first of all, I don't think you can totally replace physical meetings. It is important for us, and I do think still, with all the technical capabilities we have, that in some cases the productivity actually will go down a bit if you sit remotely and don't sit in the same room and brainstorm and have the whiteboard and everything. Yes, technology could solve all of that, but it's still not really human interaction in its most creative way, as I see it. So, but definitely, I think the balance will be that you can do a more hybrid model. You work in office some days, and some days you don't need to go in, and you work from home. So it will be more, even more flexible than it already is. I mean, we were already more or less totally mobile in the ability to work from home or in office, which is one of the things that's gone well for us. But maybe it will be used even more in the future. Yes.
I see. And I kind of another spin on that question. Do you think that this will, in meetings and things like that, we don't want to replace physical meetings with only Zoom calls? If there is a point, I would love to never do one of these again if I'm home locked up for long enough. But there are certain products that I think we're realizing are, there were things that we were doing that maybe didn't need to be done in person. And I wonder if this new reality will influence products of the future. In the case of Goldman, I think about Marcus or the Apple Card. I've been on the Apple Card now since almost its launch, and I have never spoken to a human being, and I have had zero problems. And I feel like there are certain things and certain ways we can think about products that maybe that there were layers and traditions in the ways that we did things that maybe we don't have to anymore. And so I wonder, Ericka, do you think that's going to be more the case for the products that Goldman offers? And Lars, after, same question for you.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between what you would offer consumers and what you offer institutional clients. Our institutional client offering is called Marquee. It's our digital storefront. And it's sort of, it's the equivalent to the Marcus offering for the consumer, or the Apple Card. And as Lars pointed out before, I think the institutional business, we've got some work to do in terms of eliminating the need for people to talk to one another. I think there's an awful lot that's still, exchanging paper. There's certain aspects of the market that are still on fax, if you can believe that. The sort of the broad strategy is to try to eliminate all of that and create a front to back offering through Marquee. And so while I like to interact with people and I like to talk to my clients, I'd rather it be about something sort of more meaningful than is their trade confirmed, yes or no, or did their trades match? There are things that we're still getting on the phone with clients about that have to do with really kind of pushing our food around the plate, as opposed to, having technology really be straight through, front to back, for all the services that one needs in order to execute with an institution. But the broad vision would be that the experience that you have with Apple Card or with Marcus, and Marcus does have we have a call center and people do call in, but your experience with onboarding to the Apple Card and your experience with being able to pay your bill and not have to go to an ATM machine or go to a teller, we'd like to recreate that for the institutional business as well. It'll just it'll take longer. It's more of a it's more of a legacy setup, and so it's oftentimes more difficult to transform existing processes and existing market structures than it is to kind of create something from scratch.
I see. Lars, do you have anything to add on that?
I think this is just playing in a trend we already see, and that is that you see more and more of technology being provided as a service, SaaS service or a managed service, instead of being installed in the on premises and being used. And if you in that move, when you go to cloud, when you go to services, I think more and more will be handled remotely, more and more will be handled automatically. So I think this is again just pushing a trend that is already there. So I think definitely you will see this developing over time.
Well, unfortunately, we are over time, and this was great. There were great questions from the audience, and I'm sorry if I couldn't get to all of them. But thanks to everyone who attended, and thank you both, Ericka and Lars. This was fantastic. We'll get this posted online, so everyone please look out for that. And please join for our next one of these, which is going to be on the 23rd, and our editor at large, Mr. David Pierce, will be leading that one. In the meantime, visit us at protocol.com. Check us out on LinkedIn or Twitter. And thanks again. Thanks, Lars and Ericka, for doing this. And enjoy your Zoom backgrounds. Hopefully we got some NASDAQ ones going on soon. But thanks, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Stay safe, everybody.